Iowa women's basketball falls at home to the Illinois Fighting Illini. Final score 75-69. The Hawkeye men are now 2-3 in the Big Ten with two straight losses to the likes of Minnesota and Illinois. And, of course, that loss against Michigan State back in December. I'm Cory Brada here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. We're sponsored, of course, by Big Grove Brewery. You see their logo up here in the corner. They have a bunch of convenient locations across the state of Iowa. They are the official craft brewery of your Hawkeyes. Visit all their locations across the state, including Iowa City, Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, Solon, and our brand new location over in Omaha, just on the other side of the river, not far from Iowa country. Visit biggrove.com to check out their menu, their many selections of their large selection, I should say, of beer, and their Easy Eddie is a delicious, easy drink. And you can check out their locations also at biggrove.com. All right, we are here talking about Iowa and Illinois. No Coach Close today. Coach is getting ready for the big Eagles game. I'm sure everybody knew that. So a big playoff game for Philly. So we'll wish Coach's team and, of course, Cooper DeJean the very best in their matchup against George Kittle and the Niners. And this is a hard one to it's not a hard one to recap. It's not like we're not used to losing this game. I was very accustomed to losing to Brada Underwood's Illini teams, but it looked a lot different than it typically does in this series. And, a big part of this was jumping out to the early lead, right? You especially on the road, you can silence a crowd early. It was a nice crowd. It was about 13,500 was what I was told. And there were some of the Orange Crush there. There were some Illinois fans, but in general, it's a really good Iowa crowd. Early on a Sunday, I was kind of hoping it'd be a later game, but I know the women play later. But we got the announcement that it would be at 11 a.m. Central Time. The fans still showed up, and I thought really gave their best in spite of the fact that their team got down early. And for the second straight game, that was the storyline, right? Against Minnesota, same thing. You get down early, you fight back. In that case, they actually took the lead against Minnesota, and then Minnesota he goes on another run. It was a game of runs, right? They go on another run, and then Iowa comes back again, and it's just too little too late. And today it was kind of a story of run in the first half for Illinois. Iowa cuts it to 11 at halftime. Then another run for Illinois. Then Iowa cuts it again. And yes, basketball is a game of runs. We hear that, but that has not more been the case than in Iowa, this Iowa season so far, than it has in these last two games. And eventually Iowa was able to close that gap. And I had to do something a little different with our Big Grove's big play of the day today. And we're going to get to why that is, because I had a hard time selecting that. If you want to join the show and chat about this one, feel free to call in. Our number is 515-635-1601. 515-635-1601. That is the phone line. You can also join by StreamYard. I will throw the link up in the description. And I know it's a busy Sunday. There's more Hawkeye hoops coming later. But we are here for at least the next, 30 to 45 minutes, I would say. Without Coach Close, we'll see. So we'll play this by ear. But let's add our first caller in. We got Doug, who is with us. Doug, welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, how you? Oh, it's disappointing. It's been a rough week. Many things, both personally, and then my Hawkeyes not starting well. Both games, that was disappointing. The
starts are what's killing them right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they just you can't, especially with the way they play, right? I mean, you just cannot dig yourself a lead. And this, I think the makeup of this team, Doug, not to go on a tangent based on what you just said, but the makeup of this team is designed to play teams close. It's not designed to overcome 18-point deficits. And, especially when Sturtz, like maybe the biggest storyline right now is Sturtz all of a sudden can't stay out of foul trouble.
But I had another Sturtz thing that I in the last two games, we need Bennett to be clutch. He needs to make some of he needed to make one of those threes earlier. I mean, he missed that layup. Then he missed a couple threes. Like, yeah, he's our best player, but you also need to be our most clutch player. You're who we're going to at the end of the game. And I'm not trying to rip a guy, but again, maybe it's hard to be clutch. I don't know what he was at Northwest or Drake, but if it's not him, they're putting it in his hands no matter what. So he has to be clutch.
I mean, I watched him. We watched him in the tournament. You watched him in the tournament. I mean, you and I didn't watch. I'm sure you didn't watch a ton of Drake basketball, nor did I. But
we
watched him against Missouri, and he was clutch. I mean, he wasn't hitting. You're not being asked to hit buzzer-beating shots all the time, but he was hitting big shot after big shot, and we've seen him hit big shots this year. I don't have any issue with. I think he should be in general taking those final shots. Now, I thought tonight.
Well, who else would?
Well, who else would? But also, Alvaro Frogueras should be a little bit more confident in those moments, and he airballed. I think he airballed a three, didn't he, there at the end? So Bennett, here's the thing about Bennett. I think he's ever since Big Ten play started, even back before the Iowa State game against Michigan State, to me, he has not yet gotten comfortable playing night in, night out with the physicality of this league, and that's more of a obviously you can point to the foul issues. That's one side of it, but the other side of it is, I just think it's probably a little bit more upstairs for him, and he's got to work through that.
I'm hoping. And again, I don't want to be those Drake 2.0 people or saying this is a mid-major team. The stage is. I would have a hard time believing the stage is too big for them. I mean, there's nothing great about Williams Arena in Minnesota. We had the fan support there today. I don't buy this learning curve. Yeah, it's their first year at Iowa, both the coaching staff and players. But again, it's not my first year. That's the reason why it's disappointing. I put my expectations too high, Cory. I told you that probably at Big Grove when we were there. But, this probably is a bubble team, not a 6 seed. But I still have hope.
There's not as much of a difference as we think. Like there is, but there isn't. I mean, you can easily go, this is a perfect illustration of that, right? Like a week ago, people were like, well, if Iowa does what Ken Pom expects them to do, they're going to end up as a 6 seed. I mean, when we look at that now, we're like, that's crazy. But that's literally what conversation was 2 games ago. And they've lost on the road to a Minnesota team that most people perceive to be toward the lower end of the league, although they've started nice in this league. And then an Illinois team that's good, but you lost at home. So that's the difference 2 games against anybody in this league can make. Flip it around, Doug. I mean, if they say they win at Purdue, at Indiana, we're having a totally different conversation. Now, do I think that that's going to happen? No, I don't. I don't think they're going to win both of those games. Could they steal one? Yes. I think if you're an Iowa fan right now, just from a look into the future, what I'm hoping for is one of those 2.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine them winning at Purdue. I think at Indiana is more likely, but either one is a bear.
And if they have an 0-4 start, and you'd have to, Tony's probably a person to know this. I've heard this before. The streaks, they look at your overall resume. They don't look when you lost, how you lost. They look at the resume like blindly. Like it's not like so going 0-4 over this stretch isn't killer, but not getting Rutgers, not getting USC, it just makes the margin of error in some of these other games even less. And if you want to make the tournament, that's my minimum goal every year. Minimum goal is make the tournament, not this is a once in a generation team and they'll make the tournament. Like my once in a generation team is a Sweet 16 team, a Big Ten championship team, and I haven't got many of those in my lifetime. And so,
they do play USC and Rutgers. You brought that up.
That's going to both games,
but that's the scary thing. If you're looking at it from a perspective of the season, could be a game of runs, because could you potentially be down to, are you 2-5 at that point? I mean, then your back is against the wall, because then you're probably 7 games into a 20-game conference season. Yeah, I mean, you probably got to win 75% of the games the rest of your way to make the tournament somewhere in there.
And one of our road games is at Penn State. That's a team we should beat, but those road games always give us a problem. And another thing I want to talk to you, Cory, about, and I'd like Kyle to know that, and we've talked about officiating. This team does not draw fouls. They just don't get a whistle. What was 4 fouls? They could have fouled 2 more times at the end of that game, and we still only got a 1-on-1. Like, why doesn't this team get fouled? I mean, maybe Coach Close can answer. Why is this team not get any whistles?
Yeah, I think Coach Close would be a better one to answer. I will say this: I haven't looked at the stats, but I know it was I believe it was Benetti. Who was on the call with him?
Stephen Smith. I really like Stephen Smith.
So it was one of those guys. I think it was Benetti that brought up how Illinois is one of the best teams in the country in defending without fouling, which surprises me, because I think of Brad Underwood's teams as really physical, but I'm not going to argue with that if that's the case. So I'd have to look at the data there, but that's a perfect recipe for disaster. You got a bunch of Iowa guys. I'm not making excuses for Iowa. I'm just saying, if Iowa is dealing with a lot of sickness to a number of their guys, which, at least a couple of them have been affected by this, and it doesn't help when you don't have your best 5, Cam Mannion, really available. Pair that with the fact that they seem to have struggled adjusting to the physicality of the league, getting a whistle already. Your star players in a weird funk. Now you're going up against a team that's exceptional in that category. It's a recipe for disaster.
I have another point question, kind of stupid thing to say. What's messed up, we can blame illness, but the player that they documented was ill was the player that had the best game, So it's like the illness, how much did the illness really matter? I mean, because I'd say I judge each player. I don't know how healthy they were or not. Banks is the only one we heard. I think we heard Hausen was sick too. But again.
Well, was that said? I never actually heard that Hausen was sick. The comment was made, well, Hausen hasn't played. Well, okay. if we did our research, Hausen hasn't played in most of the Iowa's games.
Okay, because I misunderstood. But you heard the comment too?
I heard the comment at the end. Okay. Is that what you're talking about? Towards the end, they made a comment about Hausen hasn't played. But what Benetti said is during those team meetings,
he wasn't confirming it.
The coaches were not. Yeah, and the coaches would not reveal that. So we've got Kyle. Kyle is actually at the game right now, and I believe as we speak, he's waiting for Coach McCollum, and he's going to ask that question, Doug. But I guess my final thing before I let you go is, You've watched a lot of seasons. This is a different type of. This is the first year in Ben McCollum, but
it's my 30th, 40th. I don't know.
Is it weird for me to look at you and say you just got to play this out? Like, does that feel? I mean, because you brought up like the whole. Well, they can go from a 6 seed to a projected 11 seed like that.
Mm-hmm.
They could lose 2 more, and now we're talking about hey, they may not make the tournament at all. We just have to realize it's a 20-game season, and right now the factors are they are dealing with illness, they're dealing with a funk with Sturts, they're dealing with a funk as a team with fouling. There's time to figure this out. You'd rather it happen now than in late February or early March.
Well, after these 2 road games, 2 very winnable home games, 2 I think home games they should win. Then it's a Northwest trip. Just don't have anything like what happened at LA last year. I don't know if it was the fires or what. That LA trip was the end of McCaffrey. I could not take.
What'd you have? What issues did you have with the Northwest trip?
No,
the
LA
trip. The California. What issues did you have with
defense? We complained about the defense, but that was like no defense times 10. I mean, they just USC and both UCLA just could make everything up and down the court. I loved Fran, not like, but I really liked Fran. And I thought, he got some, it wasn't always fair criticism, but his defense during that trip and last year just got so bad that it was unwatchable to watch a team just choose how many points they score, Yeah. So,
I just wanted to say this real quick. You brought up Tavion Banks. He is our player of the game. 16 points, 8 of 14, 7 boards, 5 assists in 24 minutes. I mean, those are really – I thought he played really, really well.
Yes, he did.
You're talking about a difficult matchup for someone who you're already dealing with lack of size because of Cam Manniau's restrictions. And, yeah, you've already – like I said, you're already dealing with your best player in foul trouble. He only ended up with 2 personal fouls. So he played as well as he possibly could. You'd like for him to maybe make a 3. I don't want him jacking a bunch of 3s, but if he could make 1 a game, he didn't do that tonight. But he only took 1. But yeah, he was good.
I don't know if it was Kyle in the discourse or somebody said they were really mad when he chucked up a 3. I don't remember the play, but Banks chucked up a 3, and Ben wasn't too happy about it. I guess it was early in the shot clock or something, but maybe I'll have to ask Kyle about that one because he mentioned that. Yeah. My last thing, that answers a lot of things that would answer a lot of the problems this team has is what you guys have already said. Both you, Coach Close, even Kyle, Tony, any of you said it's just a lack of size, a lack of having that go-to big down low. I mean, if we got that, we get more fouls. Got that, it relieves some spacing, and we just don't have that. We just don't have what Illinois has, and I'm really worried about some of the teams like Purdue that have just so much size. That's what always scares me with this team, and when they're not that athletic either. So it's just, and I don't think Cam scored a point today. I mean, and again, I don't know what his deal was either.
I mean, he's been sick. He played 8 minutes. I mean, yeah, 8 minutes, no points, 0 of 1 from the field, 1 rebound. I don't know if it was one of those things where he just wasn't feeling good, and so they were going to give him the opportunity to see if he could play through it, and he just couldn't because 8 minutes, I mean, he wasn't giving you even production in those 8 minutes. So he was sick last game.
This really will be my last point because I know everyone's like, you get that idiot off there. But my last point, Urok didn't play. That's not a surprise, right? Urok's don't play, but we need his size.
He's just not very good right now. Yeah. I get what you're saying about he's a freshman. I really have questions. I'll say this. I have a lot of faith in Ben as a coach, and I'll have to see how he can develop talent, Doug. But I have questions about Trevin Urok's ability to play in the Big Ten, period.
That's God.
I mean, I do.
Say that to me. I'm worried about it too.
Freshman or not, I just have questions about his ability to play in the Big Ten, period.
I just don't know where he's on the roster. He has size. That's, I don't know where. I mean, the portal – the kid they're bringing in, that Harrison kid isn't. I mean, where do they get that big at? And is that? I mean,
they're going to be able to go get somebody in the portal. I mean, they'll get somebody in the portal, and that's what this is going to have to be. It's just like with football, right? You've got all these commits this week, and we're all excited about it. But all these other schools got a bunch of commits too. Like there's guys jumping around everywhere. You just got to figure out the right fit. So that's the advantage. I think advantage of some situation like this where you're 1 year into the tenure now with Ben McCall, or not 1 year in yet, but we're in the first year, and you see this glaring issue that's we don't have a big. Well, the good news is they don't have to develop Urok like you'd like to, but they also can go to the portal. And yeah, they need to have some, assets at their disposal, but they can go to the portal and get a developed big potentially if the money's there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I put probably too much hope from year one, but also things change. Like I said, we're going to be cheering on Indiana for a national, at least I am, for a national title, and that's the weirdest thing I've ever thought I would say in my life.
By the way, here in the chat, Bobby Hansen says that you have good analysis as always. So see, not everybody dislikes you.
It's all good.
I don't know.
Well, I've been dealing with, I shouldn't share what I was on.
You're in too many. I'll tell you what. You're in too many Facebook groups. That's my guess, because Facebook is a cesspool.
Well, I shouldn't say what I want to say because I've had this has nothing to do with Iowa. I had a personal friend that my business person didn't try and screw me over this week, so it's been a bad week personally. So trying to be cool. Yeah. Like I said, there's always, like basketball or anything, it's how you deal with adversity that matters. This team, I wish that they could do what Indiana did. I wish they could do, but it's gonna be hard. And like you said, we'll get players in the portal. This will be a different team next year. Hopefully, about most of these guys like Tate and Howard stay, and he develops most of them. Hopefully, Urok becomes a great player. But again, we can only look at what's right ahead of us, and that's 2 very difficult road games. But if they lose them, they lose them. They just have to win games. Echoing back what I just said, NCAA tournament is my minimum goal every year. So, but I think that's still doable. We'll see. Thank you so much for taking my call. Absolutely. And you're always polite to me. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Doug. All right, now we got Shane.
Hey,
I see the little Mavs hoop back there. That was the first thing I noticed. Good for you.
Yes, Mavs fan for quite a while. Still haven't recovered from the Luka trade.
Huh?
Still haven't recovered from the Luka trade, though.
Why is it that, because I've seen your name a lot and you've called in before, and you know the crap that I've dealt with when I brought up the Mavs over the years. Why is this just the first time I found out that there's a Mavs fan listening to the show?
This is the first time I've actually called you from the man cave that I'm setting up. So,
okay. Well, we can talk about the Mavs trade some other day. I'm glad that at least we're on the same page of that. The whole situation down there right now is just painful.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a total mess. But anyways, as you heard our last call with Doug, I guess you share his sentiments on just kind of wait this thing out and get everybody healthy and figure out if you can get kind of back on a run, or is this next 2-game stretch, do you think that's going to be detrimental?
No, I think the Purdue game is house money. I mean, you're going to Purdue. As long as you don't get the doors absolutely blown off you, I think that will help your resume if you can give them a good battle. Indiana, I think, is a winnable game in Indiana. I've watched a few of their games. I mean, they're better than they have been in the last 5 or 6 years, I would say, but they're not a juggernaut that I feel like there's just very little shot. And then if you get through that, the next 6 games in a row are basically 500 teams that you're playing: Rutgers, USC, Oregon, Washington, Northwestern. Like, they should run 5 out of those 6, and maybe all 6 of those 6. And then you look at their record at that point, and what are they at that 8-6 at that stretch?
Real quick, I'm just confirming this. You are saying you expect Iowa to go to the Northwest and win both of those.
Well, now this isn't quite the Fran McCaffrey team. I'm giving it a shot with the defense that they play. That Washington really is not a juggernaut this year. I mean,
yeah.
Oregon sitting right now 1-4 in the league and 8-8 on the season. They get them obviously on the road too. So I would hope that they could at least split one of those games, win 5 of the 6 after that Indiana game. And if you take that Indiana game and I think they could win that game. I don't see anything on their team that gives me a whole lot of restless nights. As long as they do 2 things, which today they improved on both. One, the turnovers have been crazy since we got into Big Ten play. Today they had, 8? Most of them were early on in the game, which helped contribute to that 20-point, or 18-point lead that Illinois got. And then, two, they always had put teams into the double bonus, especially into the second half, before you even hit the 10-minute mark. And when you give teams just free throws, free shots at the hoop, usually those things don't end well. And today they had 11 fouls for the entire game. So at least those two areas were some bright spots for me. And then I want to ask you a question. I know that Ben doesn't necessarily subscribe to this, but I think part of the problem for Iowa, unlike Illinois, unlike a lot of, well, I wouldn't say a lot of teams, Michigan State's real good at doing this, is they really don't stretch themselves in that 10 to 11 games you get in November and December to battle test people. So Iowa's real battle testing came against Iowa State, which was a good sign. But then most of these teams happened in the Big Ten, these big time games to see where your measuring stick is. We don't get many of those, if any, in the what I would call preseason or off season. Would you agree with that?
I mean, it's to me, it's a whole. I get what you're saying, especially final few years of the Fran tenure, but it's hard for me to really evaluate that since this is the first year in a totally new staff, because they're going to do things differently than Fran's teams did. I've asked Ben McCollum about scheduling. I asked him. Well, he gave a long answer. I won't even try to summarize it. I don't know if you saw that. Where is that? I got to figure out where that was. If I ended up posting that or I tweeted it out. But yeah, when the last game that I was at, and I got a chance to ask him that question about philosophy with the net, because the net loved Iowa, and up until recently, I haven't looked at the net here in the last week, but before the Minnesota game, like, the net loved Iowa, Shane. So I get what you're saying about battle tested, and to some extent, I think you're right. But at the same time, the numbers seem to like how Iowa built the schedule. Like, the numbers like Iowa beating Grand Canyon, beating Ole Miss, beating, who else did they play? Xavier at home. I like it for sustainability, for beating the big dogs, but for building a resume, you have I know this sounds bad. You just have a risk of compiling a bunch of losses there early. And the Big Ten's a bear as it is. I can see both sides of it, but I also don't know that we can really evaluate what Ben has done, what Ben's going to do based on what he did this year, since it's year one. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Illinois, just to give you an idea, they played number 11 Alabama, they played UConn, they played Tennessee, all of this out of conference. And so when you get into these big time games on road environments, especially, like, they got tested. And they didn't win all of those, obviously, but I think that helps harden you a little early. Not to say you have to have a gauntlet of 4 or 5 of these games, but I think it'd be good to have 1 or 2, especially one on the road, if you can do it early, and just kind of give your team a taste of, really, because the entire roster, for the most part, is not used to Big Ten basketball.
Well, let me just, as a way to just illustrate what I'm saying, I want to share my screen here for a second. So these are the net rankings before today's game. So this is kind of what I'm talking about when I say, the resume likes how Iowa built it. I mean, you're just talking about all these teams that Illinois played. This is perfect. Illinois but heading into today, in overall for the year, the same record as Iowa, 12-3. And in spite of those games that are absolutely a lot better, a lot more difficult, would get Illinois more battle tested than Iowa's opponents will for them. In spite of all that, Illinois is 10th, Iowa's 19th. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's hard to in my opinion, it's hard to defend based on these numbers alone. And this isn't all we got to look at, but based on these numbers alone, it's hard for me to look at this and say, wow, they should have replaced Xavier with Gonzaga. They should have replaced, Grand Canyon with Tennessee. It's like, I don't know. If his team doesn't think they're going to be ready to play those teams and they're going to lose to those teams, then you know where they're going to end up. They're going to end up down here at this point in the year, because they will have beaten nobody. I'm theorizing to some extent, Shane, but I just, out of curiosity, pulled up the net rankings, and I'm like, well, heading into today, there was 9 spot. It was a 9-spot difference between Illinois and Iowa, and they had the exact same overall record. And yet, to your point, much different resumes, because one has played a difficult non-conference and Iowa did not. Now, Iowa did play at Iowa State. And that game's not going anywhere. That's a very, very, very strong resume building game if you win it. But they didn't win it. That's the problem. Like, they did not win it. So now maybe they would have had they scheduled they have Iowa State, you get Michigan State early from Big Ten play, and then you play Tennessee at home and Missouri on the road. Like, maybe you do still one of those. But is it a net positive? That I don't have the answer to. I'm curious. It's fascinating stuff. And Ben is such a numbers guy. That's why I asked him the question, and he had a long explanation. So go check that out if you haven't already heard it. But I can see where you're coming from.
All right. I appreciate the time, Corey.
Okay, Shane. Thank you, sir. Go Mavs.
Someday. Someday.
Appreciate it. All right, folks. Driftless Angler says, don't get the hype for 14. Bennett Sturtz, not a Big Ten point guard. He is not a typical point per se, because he is, I would say, quite ball dominant. We've talked about this in the past. I get it. We're living in the moment to some extent. He's had 3 straight games in the conference now where he's living in foul trouble and he's riding the bench. And that is foreign to him. Like, we have to recognize at a minimum that's got to be difficult for him to work through. And it's probably good because, again, it could happen in February or in March in the tournament. How does he respond? At least this is happening early in Big Ten play. Yes, I'm looking at that from a glass half full perspective, but at least Bennett Sturtz is dealing with this weird foul trouble issue right now as opposed to end of February or beginning of March. Bobby says Banks was great today. Absolutely. He's our player of the game. Ended up with... in not that many minutes, 24 minutes. So just over one half of basketball played. Ended up with 16 points on 8 of 14 shooting, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. How do you go with anybody different? And there have been many times, many games where you look at the stat sheet and you're like, how do you go with anybody other than Sturtz? Not the case tonight. I'm sure Bennett, I don't know this, but my guess is Bennett's been dealing with some illness. But when you're in foul trouble, it hampers you. And when he was playing, he wasn't very good tonight. I mean, he missed a lot of shots. Now, some of these were, these Hail Marys at the end in the half court. 5 of 17 total for Bennett Sturtz. I'll go ahead and throw our stat sheet for today up on the screen so everybody can see the official NCAA box score. And per the box score, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for everybody, potentially. No, we may have to. We'll do it this way. So here's the box score, and if you slide to the top, you'll see the official attendance was 13,559. So it's a good group of fans in there. Yes, there were some Illini fans, but it's hard to ask for a whole lot more than that. I mean, capacity is a little over 15,500, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's less now since they removed some seats. So that's a good number. Iowa shooting 32% in the first half. Obviously, hard to get it done when you're shooting that low of a number, and then 47% in the second half. Pretty consistent from 3 all night, low 30s. You'd like to be you'd like it to be a little higher. Iowa doesn't usually take 29 threes. That is an interesting trend, and I'd have to go back and compare recent box scores against Minnesota, against Michigan State, against Iowa State. But to me, that seems like a very high number. I could be wrong. That could be a season high. I would love for somebody I don't have time to do this live on the air, but I would love for somebody to confirm that with me. Is 29 3-point attempts a season high for Iowa today? And if so, you're not going into a game. I know McCollum talked about this when we were talking to him the last time I was at a press conference. He was asked about analytics, and he brought up how he said, I basically don't let analytics drive decision making, but I make decisions in a way that will hopefully appeal to the analytics, if that makes sense. Because, and Coach Patterson on our football show has talked about analytics and these different parameters. There is an art to doing that. And so I don't know that McCollum's going to look at 29 3-point attempts and say, wow, that's too many threes, but it may be a result of something else. And my first glance at this, knowing what I do about this Iowa team and how they play and how they succeed, how they win, in my opinion, at this point right now, reacting live after this game, 29 3-point attempts is too many. But I'll tell you what's not enough is 6 free throw attempts, and they were 6 of 6 from the line. But once again, almost got doubled up on in attempts by Illinois. Illinois was 9 of 11. And, Yes, there was at least a foul or two from Illinois late. They had foul to give at the end of the second half, but Iowa called for 14 fouls. Illinois called for 11. And then again, unfortunately, Sturtz was one of two guys for the Hawks that ended up with 4 fouls, the other being Tate Sage. Sturtz still grinded his way to 33 minutes played. But his plus minus was actually worst on the team. Minus 13 when he was in the game. That's what that number represents. Minus 13 when Bennett Sturtz was in the game. A lot of those came in the first half, and when Iowa was trying to not get down, right, and they were dealing with foul trouble. This was a huge appeal. You see this major foul mark here by Wagler, whatever his name is. That big appeal by Ben McCollum was a big decision. So I saw the question in the chat about appeals, and I don't have a rules book in front of me. This is Chris asking about the appeal. How is it different from a challenge? I think it's just basically semantics. It's just the language of the rule book. Just like on the men's side, we call a flagrant foul. I think in the women's game, we still say intentional foul. I don't like the difference in language there, but it's not. There's certain things that you can. I believe there's certain things that you can challenge in the NBA that you cannot challenge in college basketball. I think there are. I think this got brought up earlier in the year. I think, but the rule has been changed of late as to what you can challenge and when you can challenge it. I believe since it was under 2 minutes, maybe if it was if the officials saw the potential hook and hold, they could have still gone to the monitor. I don't think they can do that on out of bounds plays or on trying to figure out possession, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, he made the appeal. If he'd lost it, just like with a challenge in the NBA, had it been unsuccessful, he would have lost the challenge. So that functions basically the same as a challenge, Chris, but I don't have a rule book in front of me. But it was obviously a very good appeal. All right. Let me just see if there's any other stats. And we're just a few minutes out from Kyle Spence joining the show live from Carver-Hawkeye Arena for a few minutes, fresh off the post-game press conference with Ben McCollum. So it'll be good to hear from Kyle and hopefully get an update on the health of this team right now. You see Iowa finished the game with just 8 turnovers compared to 12 for the Illini. Rebounding has been an issue for the Hawks, even under Fran McCaffrey against Illinois. They were -7 on the glass today. Need to be better than that, but it doesn't help when year 5, Cam Manyow only plays 8 minutes and is dealing with an illness, and they just don't have, if they're not going to play Urok, and I'm not advocating that they do, they just don't have size. And I thought Banks battled with 7 rebounds. He battled as well as he could. How can you get the most out of everybody else? Hey, Fulgaris, 8 rebounds, really good. It's hard for me to expect a whole lot more than that. Cooper Koch, 4. Can he get up to 5 or 6? I mean, Tate Sage, he had 4. Can he get to 5 or 6? That would help. Those are little things, but I think those are the types of things, especially when you're dealing with the lack of size and illness, for your 5, that could hope, potentially get you over the hump in a game like this where you only lose by 6. Lots of good here, right? I mean, they fought back. They're down 18 again. So you dig yourself a big hole again, and you find a way back. They never had the lead in this game, but they got it back within, I think 4. And our Big Grove's big play of the day, let me get my picture back up there. There we go. Big Grove's big play of the day. Unfortunately, I kind of made an executive decision on this one. I'm not beating up on Bennett Sturtz. I'm just acknowledging what I think was the biggest play of the day. And it was Bennett Sturtz's missed layup, a point blank miss. I mean, he just got to dunk the ball in that situation, in my opinion. He went baseline, tried to go glass, and he missed the layup. And that would have cut it to 2. Granted, it would have been, they would have still had a lot in front of them because, you're well under a minute to go. They could have potentially played that next possession out, potentially. Not to say that they would have. They may have fouled. I think they were still in the single bonus, but that layup basically did them in. Hawkeye Doug, please take what Hawkeye Doug is saying and take it to heart and follow it. Please hit the like button, folks, if you are in the chat, enjoying the show, smart TV, tablet, phone, whatever the case may be. Please hit the thumbs up, the like button. I believe this is Denzel. He's in our Discord, if I'm not mistaken. He brings up the 31 attempts against Chicago State and Western Michigan. Interesting. So then my next question would be, and he's talking about 3-pointers. My next question would be, is this the highest 3-point attempt total of any game that matters? Like a game that would have actually been in doubt one way or the other against a, even Grand Canyon, I would qualify as a game that maybe not a high major team, but I would venture to say no. I mean, you're giving me the top two, I'm assuming, Denzel. Is there some, how many they attempt at Michigan State? How many they attempt at Iowa State? How many against Maryland at home? I would be surprised if they've had another Big Ten game or even out of conference high level game where they've been even close to 29 3-point attempts. But again, could be wrong on that. Appreciate your research on this. There's a bunch of comments that we need to get to. Driftless Angler says he agrees about Sturts, but he does love the coach and the team's effort. So appreciate that. And Jacques or Jackie, I don't know. Is that Jacques? I think it's Jacques. Is Hausen getting robbed because he's not Drake? Because he's not Drake. What does that mean? Because he's not from Drake? Because he's not a Drake transfer? I mean, Alvaro Folgueras is not a Drake transfer, and he played 35 minutes tonight. I mean, if you have a skill set and you're able to hold your own on defense, then you're probably going to play. Obviously, there's something with McCollum that he doesn't think Hausen can give them enough, I guess, defensively. Jacques says, if he's such a defensive liability, why did he play so much at K-State? Hausen should play with Sturts, not sub for him. Something smells bad. Well, what is it? I mean, what smells bad? Other than McCollum is evaluating things differently. Hausen seems to be such a team guy. I mean, he could maybe be appearing to be one way on TV and, on the court and be totally different off the court or in practice. That's possible. But also McCollum has been really, really positive talking about Hausen to the media. So it is a weird situation, and I think they're going to need his 3-point shooting. But I thought the other night, unless he was sick today, and he was there on the bench, I thought the other night against Minnesota, Hausen played really well. He hit a huge three, got him, gave him a chance there at the end. He did miss a three, forced one. Maybe Ben McCollum doesn't like how shot happy he is. I don't know. I mean, a shooter shoots, right? And you don't want to tell a shooter to stop shooting. But I'm grasping at straws to some extent as well. Jeff says it's hard to get UConn and Kansas and the like to schedule you in non-conference when you haven't been in the Sweet 16 in 20 plus years. Yes, but I don't know that you have to start with UConn and Kansas. I don't think the point James made earlier when he called in is that you have to schedule Gonzaga, Kansas. But I mean, they were playing Xavier's right now on paper, maybe the worst team in the Big East. Ole Miss on paper right now might be the worst team in the SEC. So I think that's what – and you don't know that those teams are going to be bottom feeders in the conferences that they're playing, and hopefully they end up being better. But, yeah, I don't think you have to go from 0 to 60. All right, let's go to our phone line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Lamansky, Cory.
Hey, Lamansky.
I thought you'd find this interesting. I caught Cooper's post game. He was asked questions, and a real hopeful question or hopeful answer to a question was Cooper was asked about the crowd last year versus this year. And he point blank said, it's black and white. And he said, I'm paraphrasing, but they don't accept a loss like this. They want to win one for the fans. That's the right attitude. Cooper was also asked, like, you had a lot of opportunities to go a lot of different schools. And we lost a few guys to a different school. And Cooper says the worst part of my game was my defense. I knew 4 years at Iowa would help that. So, and then lastly, and you can comment on this, the whole entire team dang near has never played in away arenas. And, nobody liked the Minnesota loss, but that's kind of a unique arena. And this is the first time our teams get seen as away venue. So what I'm focusing on, getting the home wins going forward. And I'm pretty tolerant of There are challenges at these away arenas like any of them. We kind of forget perspective here, I think, with a long way to go.
I will say this. I mean, they have played. I know what you're saying, Lamansky. However, they're not going to get more battle tested than at Michigan State, at Iowa State, and at Minnesota. Like those are 3 gauntlet road games, and they lost all 3. So I agree with you. These are really important games coming up, but it's not totally uncharted waters. And I think they need to steal one of them. If they don't, like I said earlier to Doug, they're going to be 2-5. And I don't think 2-5 really kills your year. I still think you can maybe go on a run, but it just leaves so little margin for error. Because I think you probably need to be 500. Does 9-11 get you in? Maybe. You're probably really sweating. 8-12, you're going to have to do work in the tournament. You got to, now that you've lost at home, you got to steal one on the road somewhere. And because of the stretch that they have, I feel like they need to steal one of these next 2.
I think you make a great point. So when they go to Indiana, there's another experience that makes them better. I think they can progress at these away arenas as they see each one of them. But, early on in the Big Ten, I wasn't surprised they lost to Minnesota at all.
Yeah, disappointed. I wasn't surprised. Here's what I'm disappointed in with this team right now, Lamansky, and it doesn't mean that it can't get better and be fixed. What I'm disappointed is that they're losing kind of the same way, and they've only lost 2 straight. I mean, we need to just remember that they've lost 2 straight. But it just appears to me that they're in this funk of not getting off to a good start and trying to be someone they're not and climbing all the way back. And it just, especially against a team like Illinois that's going to kill you on the glass, they got tons of size. You just can't expand, and you're in foul trouble, right? I mean, I don't think it's an inexact correlation. I think it's very exact. The fact that Sturtz and the team is sick and dealing with foul trouble, and that they're digging themselves these deficits early. I don't think those things aren't mutually exclusive. So, yeah, this is a pivotal time. I still believe that I still think this team's gonna make the tournament. I think they're gonna figure it out. I like the fight. There's good to look for, and I just hope they can get healthy. That's what I would say.
I'll leave you this with one final thought, is that McCollum has been pretty honest post games about being a better coach, and he's pretty transparent, got good personality, taking responsibility, learning the Big Ten. And I thought the brightest spot today from 30,000 feet is when Sturtz is out of the game. And we all know McCollum's early go-to is to play him every minute. But that comeback was made with Sturtz on the bench. And I think if this team can get some confidence of all the other team members besides Sturtz, I think that's the most hopeful thing that I saw today. And if they can improve their confidence, they won't be so reliant on Sturtz going forward. And I think that's a big, bright plus.
And it will.
I'll leave you with that, Cory.
Yeah, it will pay dividends into next year as well, because Bennett's not going to be here, and they're going to have to do work in the portal. But if the future is Isaiah Howard and Cale Combs and Tate Sage, 100% agree with everything you just said. And I don't believe does Alvaro have 1 year in front of him? Maybe Kyle will remember this when we bring Kyle in, but I don't think he does. So they're going to deal with a lot of loss offensively, and this will get them ready for that at a minimum.
And they're not used to playing without him. Those guys, when he hits the bench, that the rest of the cast is going to discover something maybe deep within. And I think Coop is going to be a really elite Big Ten player with experience. He's already showing signs of improvement. I'll leave you with that, Cory. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks, Lamansky. Appreciate the call. All right. I think we still got some comments in the live chat that we want to get to. Let's see here. Was there any that I wanted to address before we bring in Kyle? So Go Hawks 90 says, do you think the fan base is going to start to slump again? No, because I don't think they've won over the entire fan base yet. I believe that it's going to still take some time. And just responding to something here regarding Kyle getting tied in here. No, I don't think that the people that were there today, I don't think people are going to fret over a 4-point loss at home, mind you, to Illinois. I just think that, I think the people who were already on board were on board before the year started. In general, most people that are on board now were on board before the year started, and it's going to take more than this to drive them back away. Jeff says, will Joey Mattione ever be a Big Ten contributor either? My opinion, based on what I've seen, I am no developmental expert. I'm just here to be objective and state my opinion, on everything. I don't see Big Ten players when I see Joey Mattione and Trevin Urach. Okay, I don't. So doesn't mean it's impossible. If Ben McCollum can develop these guys, great. But I don't see that yet. So, okay, I think we've got Kyle Spence here live from Carver-Hawkeye Arena. Kyle, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. How are we doing?
I'm doing good. Are you? Are you connected to Carver's Wi-Fi? Or are you on your own?
I'm on Wi-Fi.
Huh? Yeah, their Wi-Fi is kind of dumpy right now, but we got your audio at a minimum. I can kind of see you, so that's good. Thanks for being there today. I know this is a game that means a little bit more to you because you went to school in the state of Illinois. You got a good friend who's a huge Illinois fan, but it sucks to see him lose this game. We've seen it too many times in the last 5 years. But a number of things to get to finish off our show. You just got done talking with Ben McCollum and Scott Underwood. What is the initial big takeaway that you have from the press conference today?
Yeah, I mean, lots of interesting stuff. Great to get both coaches. This is the first time I've got both coaches since I've been at the games. Ben was pretty resolved today. No moral victories. There were past comments in media availability about, hey, we like to see that we can compete with these kind of teams, and we like to see that when we get down big, we fight back and all that kind of stuff. Ben kind of just dismissed all those questions today. Didn't really give them much airtime. Didn't give them much oxygen, and just kind of said, hey, it's time to win these games. It's time to get over the hump, because at some point, if you're going to achieve your goals, you got to win these games. And so he really didn't give any credence to, any excuses. And we'll get to the players that were healthy or unhealthy, and slow starts and fast starts and all this kind of stuff. But he was pretty dead set on, like, hey, it's time to win. I think we're close to being able to win these games. We've shown we can stick around, but it's time to start doing it. Lots of really interesting things from Ben, as always. He said that he thought the offense was kind of sped up and a little quick early, and really said that today he felt that they were a little over reliant on Bennett, and that was maybe given some of the health issues that were going through the team and whatnot. But said that they kind of naturally forced the ball to him in a lot of situations that they really shouldn't have. And then when Bennett kind of came out of the game, it kind of got him out of that, because they didn't have Bennett to force feed the ball into. So said that he kind of said sometimes when you have a player of Bennett's caliber, you kind of search for him too much, and he felt that they just searched for him a little too much.
So let me just interrupt you. Let's just address the elephant in the room. Did anyone ask how many guys? Because I mean, some of this is, I guess you could argue, HIPAA. Like maybe he doesn't feel comfortable saying, or he can use that as an excuse of not revealing, because he didn't reveal to Fox in advance of the game who's been sick. But was the topic of how many guys? Because I know the coaches, it sounds like some of the coaching staff has been sick as well. Did that get brought up?
Yeah, so he said that there were, obviously he named Tavion by name, because that report's out there. There's kind of no denying that at this point. He said Tavion has lost 10 pounds in the last couple of days, or roughly 10 pounds in the last couple of days, and that he went straight to the locker room to throw up post-game. So he is going through it, but Ben used him as an example to say, like, hey, there's no excuse here. Like, Tavion was the player of the game. I don't know who you picked, but he was player of the game out there today. He was giving as much effort as anybody. So, if he's throwing up at halftime, he's throwing up post game. There's no excuse for anybody else. But all he said was that he said Tavion Tavion's kind of the one going through it the most right now. Bennett is kind of getting over his case of it. He had it and is kind of getting over it right now. And he did not name anybody else, but he did say there were several that either were kind of on the tail end of it or were going through it right now. He wouldn't name those guys, and he wouldn't kind of let it be used as an excuse. So, yeah, Tavion was the worst. And man, I mean, if he's lost 10 pounds in 2 days, that's a brutal week for him. But yeah, he wouldn't didn't allow it to be an excuse. Just said there were a few guys that were kind of on the tail end or just getting it right now.
The natural question is obviously a flu bug or whatever this is can affect people differently, but why has it been so devastating to Cam Mannion? I mean, this is his second straight game. He played Tuesday and Sunday very sparingly. You would think by now, if he was that sick Tuesday that he played very little, that he'd be at least able to play more tonight, and he did not.
Yeah, that was confusing, particularly given the size advantage that Illinois had. I mean, if there was any way that he could have played and played effectively, you would have thought he would have played a little bit more than he did. But yeah, it's just hard to know. I mean, with some of these guys, I mean, everybody's kind of been through this with some guys. It's when they're sick that's the worst. Maybe, I mean, with the heavier guys, I can imagine that taking a week or two off is not great for your lungs. You know, some guys maybe struggle to get back up to speed in terms of the cardio aspect of it. I don't know, but yeah, that was confusing because I mean, Illinois obviously had a length, athleticism, and size advantage today, and you know that I was already undersized. To not play Mannion was tough.
And then Isaiah Howard gets 12 minutes. So I would think that at a minimum, the minutes distribution paired with what we know about Banks gives us indication that Banks has been sick or is sick. Howard has been sick or is sick. Mannion has been sick, is sick. And then after that, it's hard to know. Like, I mean, because you have
Bennett as well, he said. So that's basically, except for Cooper, that's your entire starting five.
Yeah. And then, Brendan Hazen, that was brought up on the Fox broadcast today. Either Benetti or what's his face was talking about that. Just Brendan Hazen hasn't played. Maybe he's sick, but Brendan Hazen also hasn't played most of the year. No. So
Ben addressed that too post game. I thought it was interesting. He was asked directly about Urach and Hausen, and if they were sick, if they were healthy scratches, what the deal was. And Ben actually said that Urach was in the game plan and was supposed to play today, but when things spiraled, he said that was not the time to bring Urach in. So he actually planned on giving Urach some run, and I think that was, he didn't directly say this, but it was kind of a nod to the fact that Tavion and Cam had been going through it, weather-wise and needing or illness-wise and needing somebody to fill those minutes. But he made no mention to Hazen. He said Hazen wasn't in the game plan. It was a coach's decision, DMP.
It's so easy for me to sit here and say I'm not going to be critical in year one of that one decision. It is weird. I mean, and it's easy to just go back to say, well, it's defense. He's not a good enough defender. I thought from what I saw, I'm not there in practice every day, but what I saw at the end of the Minnesota game is it looked to me like he earned minutes for the next game. And in a game where you are dealing with illness and you're dealing with people like Sturtz, who's in foul trouble and has been ill, it looks like Howard's ill, and you still don't get on the floor after the last few minutes that you put in against Minnesota. That seems, you can understand why some people would raise their eyebrow to that.
I understand it. And I agree with you, I guess, in sentiment with the Minnesota game. I just think this was a horrible matchup for him. I mean, who are you going to put him on? Boswell? You're going to put him on Stojakovic? Like, who is he going to guard? I mean, Stojakovic obviously balled out today and has balled out all year. Boswell's, what was he? He's like 6'2", 205 or 210. I mean, he's a freight train coming downhill and very, very quick for that size. So, yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think in the long haul, that Minnesota game hopefully will give him a little bit of a catalyst to get off the bench. But I don't know that this was the night for him necessarily. Just given Illinois' length and their athleticism and the fact that Ben really said that the thing that made them so difficult to defend, especially early on, is that really that he felt like they were playing basically five college basketball all-stars. He felt like there really was no weakness in that starting five. He was very, very, and both coaches were very, very quick to praise the other team. But that was a tough team they played today.
Rose Pierce says, love your show. It's the best out there. Agree with everything you say. That's from an Illini fan. So thank you, Rose. And Jeff correcting me that Fulgaris has one more year left. Okay.
He does. Yep. 2 years at Robert Morris and then this year at Iowa.
Great. Assuming he doesn't go to the pros. And I don't think he's done anything that would give me indicate. Like he was flirting with the NBA out of Robert Morris last year. So that's the only reason I bring that up is like, I know some people are going to look at him and say, he's not even starting at Iowa and he's not playing well against the best teams. I'm just telling you that he was a prospect on some people's boards out of Robert Morris last year. But yes, great to be reminded that he has another year
and
left.
I don't know too, like, I don't know that he didn't play well today, Cory. Like, I mean, he didn't hit shots for sure, but like he had 8 rebounds, he had 3 assists, he had a steal and a block. He competed defensively, he competed really well against Maryland defensively when I was here last time. The whole team today, I mean, I would love to know. I can't remember the company that does it, but like the projected score outcome based on shot selection. I would love to know what that was for this game, because I really think that Iowa, if they make their normal share of shots, I don't think this was that bad of a performance outside of those first 5 minutes. I mean, Fulgaris had a couple really, really good looks from 3 where he was open. And this is actually one of the things that Connor talked to me, my friend from Illinois talked to me about before the game, because he's like, man, our 2 bigs are good, but they cannot rotate out and cover the 3 ball. So if Fulgaris can knock a few down, like the shots will be there. And they were. He just didn't make them.
I'm looking at the 2025-6 Big Ten season so far for Iowa, and I'm just curious because I brought this up earlier in the day, but let me see if I can find a game-by-game log for the team. I'm curious to know. Okay, here we go. Sport Reference does a pretty good job with this. So Iowa shot 29 threes today, and they shot 26 against UCLA, 26 against Minnesota. Let's see, they shot 21 against Bucknell. So, yeah, I mean, I guess 29 is not as absurdly high as I kind of thought. I mean, 15 against Iowa State, 18 against Maryland, 23 against Michigan State, 19.
But they had to tonight too. Like, I mean, the team that they played was ginormous inside. I mean, they did not give up easy layups.
It doesn't help when you're down. Like Isaiah Howard is a guy who gets to the rim a lot. It doesn't help when he's not available, and Cam Manuel's your 5 and he's not available. And so I guess what I'm saying, Kyle, is you shot 29 threes and Hazen didn't even play.
If that was the game plan to get back in, then he may have. Yeah, I mean, I can see it. I just can't imagine what it would have looked like defensively, but maybe they would have covered for him.
I'll give you this question from Denzel. He's one of our Discord members. He's in our chat. He says, does Alvaro look lost on defense sometimes? Yes or no?
I think he does a little bit in terms of the rotations. I think he wanders a little bit sometimes. He's not very, he's not committing to some of those rotations and some of those switches. He's actually impressed me in isolation defense, particularly in the post, the way that he's held up against some of these bigger, stronger players. And I think his length is really good, but he does wander a little bit sometimes in terms of team defense, in my opinion.
I was going to bring up his length. I think that's the big thing that helps him to recover sometimes with lack of lateral quickness, which helped guys like Peyton Sanford at times as well. But Alvaro is longer than Peyton was and is a better defender than Peyton because of this. I think probably because of the system he's playing in and the coach. Coil Stipulate says, Cory, do you think they'd ever consider keeping Bennett off the floor when they make a run to come back? He's their best player, and Ben has so much confidence in him. I did not think he played well today, and the missed layup was actually Big Grove's big play of the day. Missed layup with 37 seconds. Would have cut it to 2 with less than 40 seconds remaining, and you never know at that point.
Not to mention the 2 horrific threes he took before that. I mean, those are 2 of the worst shots I've ever seen a player of his caliber take, given the circumstance. I mean, he came down. I'd have to see how much time was left in the game, but man, they were not at the point where they needed to start jacking threes just yet. And he's shooting that one-legged shot. I mean, he's like pump faking to get his defender up in the air, and he's shooting a one-legged shot where he's kind of half sidestepping, and it's just, I mean, it was just a bad idea. He did not look. And maybe people on the broadcast saw this. I'm not sure what that looked like, but there's a couple times where he offloaded the ball to Cale Combs. and, you know, in the backcourt as they're bringing the ball up. And Bennett did not make a big effort to get up into the front court to start playing offense. I mean, he would like offload the ball to Kale and then basically walk up the floor as Kale brought the ball up and started initiating offense. It was, I mean, probably a condition of his illness, you know, but that was a little bit kind of concerning to see. But, you know, I don't know. Like I said, I haven't been on for the first 40 minutes, so I don't know what people's reaction is just yet, but that was a little concerning to me.
Anything else that you guys get player availability? Anything else that you had that was interesting?
We did. We got Bennett and we got Cooper. Not a whole lot from Cooper. He didn't seem super energetic. He seemed a little under the weather too. Him and Bennett both looked very white, like very like pale.
Well, Cooper's very white in general.
he is very white in general, but like even more so than normal. Yeah, we got Cooper and Bennett. The only thing really that we got from them and their player availability was that we would have had Tavion instead of Bennett, but Tavion was busy throwing up during the post-game presser, so we didn't get him. Bennett was Bennett. He was pretty calm. He was pretty, you know, not concerned about anything. Just said he needs to do a little bit of better job of trusting his teammates sometimes, especially when he's struggling on nights like that. But yeah, nothing crazy. They're not making excuses. The attendance is a very touchy subject for them. I can tell. It's like, because a lot of times Ben will do an opening statement for about 3-4 minutes every time when he comes in for availability, and sometimes the guys will too. But every interview that we get, pretty much, it's like, you know, we're happy that the fans are starting to come back, and we want that to continue, and please keep coming to games and all that stuff. You know, they're really making a push, and not necessarily in a bad way, but just kind of in like a, you know, it's you can tell it's something they talk about, and they are like assessing during games and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, all three of them, Ben and Bennett and Cooper, have all kind of said it's time. They've got to go win a game. And Ben seemed fairly confident that they could. Obviously, they got a tall task going to Lafayette to play Purdue, but he seemed fairly confident that they could do it.
Kyle Spence on location there at Carver-Hawkeye Arena, fresh off the Ben McCollum postgame presser, along with Scott Underwood. Why do I always say that? What's his first name?
Brad Underwood.
Scott Underwood was the former drummer for the band Train. I don't know why I always say Scott Underwood. Anyways, shout out Scott Underwood wherever he's at now. He's no longer with the band. But
Brad was great though. Brad Underwood was great. Have you ever had him in post game availability or anything? He's a great listen. He's a really good listen.
I've listened to him talk.
And he talks about this like a rivalry. Like he was talking about, they've got a trip to Northwestern coming up. Obviously, that's a rivalry game for Illinois, but he thinks that coming into Carver is every bit as important to them as a program as going to Northwestern or Purdue or any of their kind of more traditional rivals. So he said specifically in basketball, he feels like this has turned into a real rivalry, and he really enjoys it. So no, he was a good listen as well.
13,556 was the official attendance for today. 13,500.
I'm sorry, with
13,559. I want to cut them.
That was with probably a half empty student section. I know the students are still out of town, but there was at least 1,000 student seats open. So it was pretty much a packed house. It wasn't quite a sellout besides the student section, but it was really close, probably 95% or more.
Did you get anything to eat, Kyle?
No. I'm good. I'm just working away. I gotta go straight after this and go teach some golf. So I'm
go eat an acai bowl and some what else? Kale, and let's see, acai bowl, kale, and there's
meat and potatoes,
else.
Cory. Meat and potatoes.
All right, meat and potatoes, fine. All right, Kyle. Appreciate you being here, sir, and good work. And we'll have you next time.
Absolutely. And can I just say, I don't know what the sentiment's been before I get out of here. Just as a closing statement, they played the number 3 offense in the country. I saw a lot of comments on Twitter about the defense. Guys, they played the number 3 offense in the country, and half their team is sick. So any of this like, oh, this is Fran 2.0 or like they're playing defense like a Fran team, pump the brakes. I like, and Cory's gotten on me for being negative in the past. So I'm usually pretty quick to get on them if stuff's going wrong. They will be fine. I really believe they'll be fine. They're going to make the tournament. They'll be okay. This is not a sign of things to come.
Positive Peter. So thank you, Kyle. Appreciate it. Drive safe back home. Get back
Absolutely.
with your
All right. Good to see you, Cory.
Thanks. All right. The Hawkeyes falling, whatever. 75-69. Yeah, there's factors at play here. Hopefully people took what we had to say today along with what Kyle just had to say positively. I know it's disappointing to lose 2 in a row and especially when you're one of those is at home. And the game that was on the road was very winnable against Minnesota. I understand all of that. So, I guess keep the faith to Doug's point earlier and to Kyle's point, keep the faith. They got to get healthy. And, the bad news here is, they don't really get much of a hiatus. They're back on the court Wednesday and it's at Purdue. It's an early tip at 5:30 Central Time. And then, at Indiana next Saturday. But I still believe that if you win one, then, you're back as far as kind of back where you want to be. You just got to get one back from losing, not the game against Minnesota, but by dropping one on the road at home. You got to protect home court in this league. Bob is here. Thank you, Bob, for being here. And same with Cory, Cyhawk C Money. And let's see here. Any other comments that I missed? I don't believe. Big Grove Brewery, the official craft brewery of the Hawkeyes. We appreciate them for being here. Also, as always, Brad Van Meter and his State Farm team down in Des Moines. We sometimes talk about Brad at the top. We sometimes talk about him at the bottom. But regardless, he should be your number one destination for insurance. Give him a call at 515-256-6480. 515-256-6480. You can also visit Brad online, bradvanmeter.com, or online, or in person at 4229 Fleur Drive in Des Moines. Again, Brad Van Meter and his State Farm team. Folks, for Kyle Spence, I'm Cory Brada. Y'all have a great afternoon. I'll see you back here in just a few hours following Iowa women's basketball.